I'm Charles Abels, local photographer in and around Prescott Valley, Arizona. And today we're going to talk about the Rollei 35. A beautiful, you might say full frame 35 millimeter compact camera of the time. It's going to be a loaded episode. We're going to talk a little bit about this camera, all the little bells and whistles on it, and then we're going to, or during the program, during the episode, show you how to load it. Let's load us a Rollei 35. I have here with me my Rollei 35 camera, and I have here a roll of Kodak TMax 100, which expired in August of 2021. So I don't know how well this film will do, but we'll certainly find out. So the first thing we want to do is pull out the lens and rotate it and then lock it into place. Then we go to the base here, and right here, I don't know if you could see this, but right here is the latch, the back latch. You just simply push it down like so. So you're going into a, the way I'm looking at it, it's a counterclockwise direction, probably clockwise when I was looking straight at it, but you push that down and then very carefully and gingerly just grab hold of it and pull the back off. And that starts it. That's the easiest part. Now the interesting thing to remember is we have the back tension right here, but it does flop. So you can see how it's flopping. Let's discuss the battery compartment. Now I'm not going to take it out, but if you look real hard right here, we have the battery compartment. And it is inside. This is what powers, or this is what helps you with your exposure reading, metering right here. So the battery compartment is right there. And it takes, in this case, what I did is I got from Amazon, I got the Lupacell 625A. Now this is an alkaline battery. And so I ordered a packet, and it's stored in the refrigerator. And so you can buy these cells, or these batteries. In addition to that, if you don't have a battery, you just might have to use Sunny 16 rule. This is a fully mechanical operating camera. The battery is just used for the exposure. Now that I showed you where the battery is at, let's load the film. But I would suggest, before loading the film, you take a rocket blaster here and drop down your film back, or film tension. Drop that down, and then just rocket blast inside there, and blow out the dust behind the lens, the glass of the lens. And as a matter of fact, just blow out the dust in the back of the camera. And once you're done, we're ready to load up the Kodak. And as you have the bottom of the camera fundamentally facing toward you, you want to lift this film back, or film tensioner off, or back towards you, in order to load this film up. The film, the knob right here, actually installs on the battery lid, so you can see how you have a cavity in there, and you just pop it right into there. Pull out the leader, enough leader, take it to enough leader to install in the slots of the film take-up. Stick it into the take-up slot, like so. And if you notice, when you look up at the take-up reel right here, you'll see little arrows. And down there where the arrows are, there's a little knob, serrated knob. Just start turning this take-up until you see the sprockets of the film locked into place of the sprockets of the take-up reel. And once you're happy with that and you're satisfied with that, bring the back up. Take your bottom and then very carefully put the back on. And once you have the back on, the back latch right here, turn it and close it and secure the back. And that's it. Then once you get that film rolled up, go ahead and advance. Well, first go ahead and click. Make sure you can advance. 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 When you set it, you fire it off twice and you set it and you're ready to go. Advance the film one more time. And it's actually on number 1 right now. This is the only way that you'll be able to close this lens is pushing down on the lens lock, which is right here. Push down on it. And then very carefully rotate the lens. Push it down. And it's stored and ready for transport. And then of course show you how to unload it. And during all this process, show you photographs of the last roll of film I had developed after photographing with this camera. Yesterday, I finally finished and burned up a roll of Kodak TMax 100 film in this camera, so I'm going to show you quickly how to unload it. First thing that I do is I like to pull out the lens, the retractable lens, and then rotate the locking into place. Then on the back, if you recall, we have a lever that you'll go ahead and flip up. The lever next to the viewfinder, flip it up to the R, and then rotate down, and then you have your rewind lever here, and you pull it out, and then just simply follow the direction of the arrow to turn this. Oh yeah, you can feel it going back into the canister. That is done. Put your rewind lever back into place, securing it. Rotate your lever over the R, rotate it back down. And then with your knob at the base here, flip it out. And very carefully, gingerly, pull the base off. And there you have your roll out. And then very carefully put the back on, making sure it's secured into place, and flip the latch up, making sure that the back is secure. And that is pretty much it when taking the film out of the camera after exposing it. This camera was manufactured, this particular model, there were several variations through its history, but this camera, this particular model, was manufactured between 1966 and 1974. Between 1966 and 1971, this camera was exclusively manufactured in Germany. 1971 to 1974, this camera was manufactured in Singapore. Now this camera was manufactured in Singapore, and when I tracked down the date, which wasn't really a finite date, it gave a spread, but it was manufactured, if I recall rightly, between April of 1971 to, I want to say, February, March of 1973. So somewhere in between that span was when it was manufactured. This camera is a mechanical camera. I could say fully mechanical, but there is a battery that can be installed in this camera, and that's primarily for use with the exposure meter here. Some highlights about this camera. We'll start with the top plate. Right here is the shutter speed, or I'm sorry, the shutter release. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire it off There's no film in it, but the reason why I want to fire it off is I want, one, you to hear it, and two, we have the film advance knob right here, and I wanted you to see that. And that's how you advance it. Now, the interesting thing is this film advance is on the left-hand side, so if you're used to the right-hand side, it takes some getting used to with the left. It is a manual focus, meaning that you have to manually focus. It's not an autofocus, it's manual. You'll have to guesstimate the distance and then adjust it accordingly. Simple. The top, the declinations in the top here are in feet, and on the bottom, it's in millimeters. The knob that is on the right, my right, this is the aperture knob, or the f-stop, as it were. And it does have a little lock down here that you need to push up in order to rotate the f-stop. The center knob is the ISO ASA adjustment. Now, the interesting thing about this is, because this is an all-mechanical camera with the exception of the exposure, when you adjust your ASA, it does adjust a mechanics in there, an arm in there, to indicate what ASA that it's being set to, which then helps the needle in the apple, as it were, to be able to line up using the appropriate ASA, f-stop, and shutter speed. It's really simple. It's an engineering marvel, as it were. On the left side is the shutter speed and film type. Now, because I shoot black and white negatives, and I'd never quite understood what that meant, I've always adjusted the star that's on the center in here into negative. And it doesn't seem to really hurt, because I don't shoot color film, so I thought, okay, I'm putting it over there on negative. Because the rest of the selection is you got color negative, color flash, and color sunlight. So what does that mean? I have no idea. I just set it on negative. At the base, we have our film rewind knob here. We have our center post for the tripod mount. You can mount a 1/4" 20 tripod. And in addition to that, we have an exposure meter right here for you to make sure you keep an eye on your exposures and how many film you shot. We have a latch here to drop down, to pull the back off in order to load the film or unload the film. And then we have a hot shoe flash right here. The interesting thing that I want to point out as we're looking at the front here is when you bring this up and you start to compose, there is a little window here that allows the light to come in for you to be able to adjust your exposure using an exposure meter. Key thing is, whatever you do, don't cover it up with your fingers. It takes a while. You'll get used to it. But make certain, you can feel it as well, but make certain you don't cover that up to prevent the lights from coming in to make the appropriate exposure with the meter. And on the back, of course, you have your viewfinder here. And we have we'll call it the rewind knob. You would flip it up. And then when it's ready to go, and disengages all the gearing inside, and then you flip up your rewind knob, and you could start to rewind the film back into the canister for development. This is a phenomenal little camera and fun to shoot. And that's pretty much it. Short, sweet, and simple. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you enjoyed the pictures. On a side note, the pictures were developed with Caffenol CM and instant coffee recipe. And what the pictures that you see were not post-edited. I just wanted to share with you how wonderful this camera is. And I want to thank everybody for subscribing to my channel. And for those who had watched any of my episodes but yet hadn't subscribed, I would say thank you for taking the time to visit my channel. Maybe consider subscribing. And until next time, Catch you later.